if I've gotten to a certain point, it's mainly because my life may be ending.
It's 1978, and rising star Martin Scorsese is in freefall.
You were leading kind of a self-destructive life.
Yeah, a very self-destructive period.
So you almost died.
Yes, I did die in a sense.
He'd had 3 triumphs, but then
Everything about it is appealing.
disaster.
At 34, Scorsese has directed Mean Streets, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, Taxi Driver, and New York, New York.
Happy feeling.
In New York, New York, and I'm not sure if we were successful or not with that one. It wasn't a completely successful film. So I experimented with New York, New York.
What's a major chord?
A major chord is when everything in your life works out perfectly.
By having made New York, New York, and realizing in the making of that film, I tried different things. And
When you have everything you could ever possibly want, everything.
Reinventing the 40s musical was not a success.
You have the woman you want, you have the music you want, and you have enough money to live comfortably.
New York, in many senses, bombed.
And that's a major chord.
I didn't feel the experiment worked.
This was a very low point in your life, wasn't it, Martin?
Yeah.
Scorsese's personal life and career entered a turbulent period.
Let me ask you something. You got any other advice for me?
But the collapse didn't start with the flop. It started with the high.
You talking to me?
Yeah, stay off the junk and you'll go fine.
Taxi Driver survived virtually intact, but Scorsese didn't. After it was released, he began abusing drugs, eventually winding up in the hospital from a near-fatal mixture of asthma medication and cocaine.
When you completed Taxi Driver, I know you were pretty exhausted.
You know, the slightest thing after a while becomes a little tiresome, and then you have to get yourself regenerated again. But it was a very difficult time because of the rejection of the films. And
You were leading kind of a self-destructive life.
yeah, a very self-destructive period. So eventually, I remember I just collapsed, and I was in a hospital, in New York hospital. One doesn't have to also deal with chemicals to be self-destructive. It could just be one's thinking and one's behavior towards people around them.
You must think I'm pretty sick or something. You know, you must think I'm pretty sick.
Uncle died at dawn.
Right? You must think I'm pretty sick?
Top of that, your part.
It could be both.
You know, and then when you combine the two, it's even worse.
Right? I bet you really think I'm sick, right? You think I'm sick? When you're working, is it sometimes lonely?
Yeah. I beat myself up so much that the doctor said, you just have to stay here until we can. They said, look, you may get a brain hemorrhage at any moment. And De Niro came to visit me. And De Niro told me, he said, come on, what are you trying to prove? He said, what's the point? What's the point of killing yourself? I said, come on, get out of bed and come and make this film with me. You'd be best at making this film.
Stop with those fucking drugs. They're making your mind into mush. You hear me?
Take them back.
76, 78 were pretty tough, and came out of it at the end of 78. Did this film that De Niro really wanted me to make over the years, but I had resisted, and that was Raging Bull.
You want me to hit you? I want you to hit me with everything you got. I want you to fucking lay me out. Go ahead.
Bob generated Raging Bull, but it took me a long time to understand where I was in Raging Bull.
You sure? Yeah. All right. Hard.
Well, I didn't want to do it, you see.
Each old punch like you take it up the ass. Come on. Harder. 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 That's hard. You fuck. What do you want?
Until finally, I was in the hospital, and De Niro came up to visit me, and he was in the bed, and he said, why don't you just, he said, listen, you'd be good for this film. Why don't you just do it? Come on.
What are you trying to prove? What does it prove?
And I just found myself, I had reached a point in my life where there was nothing more for me to do but to go and make that film.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody.
So you almost died.
Yes, I did die in a sense. Spiritually, went down, gone, finished. And there was no place to come. You just had to start all over again.
Instead of a bum, which is what I am.
And I suddenly said yes.
You actually, at least at that time, were quoted as saying you thought Raging Bull might be your last picture.
But to know why he nearly stopped, you have to know why he started.
Martin was born in Corona in 1942.
Because I grew up downtown in a rough area,
Side, right?
on the Lower East Side when the Bowery was the Bowery, and it was pretty scary growing up as a kid.
Of course, on account of he had asthma.
He didn't do too much activities because of his condition. He used to be laid up in bed for 2-3 days.
Having this severe asthma, I was told I couldn't do anything. I wasn't allowed to go
do sports, wasn't allowed to run around, wasn't allowed to... You had to be careful. Kids get into laughing fits, and they get spasms, and you couldn't do that either. My parents in the mid to late 40s, uneducated and, you know, working class, they just didn't know what to do. They just knew I couldn't breathe.
He wanted to get out and play in the snow like other kids.
He could only watch them from his window.
But he couldn't. He used to watch from behind the window. You know, I used to feel sorry for him.
The window frame was his movie screen. And while he observed life from up there, he began dreaming up films of his own.
Because I spent a lot of time in movie theaters when I was a kid.
Practically spent most of my time in movie theaters. That's all I can remember is movies.
By age 9, he was sketching what movie directors call storyboards.
And this is one of the things, where I came from, we couldn't afford any 8mm cameras or anything like that. I drew pictures. I imagined that they moved, but I drew them.
He would draw little pictures, and every sequence that he was going to do was in those things there, which he still has. And they were great.
What did your parents think when you told them, I want to be a director?
Well, I heard them, and one night I heard my mother whisper to my father saying, I think he's crazy. I think there's something wrong with him. I guess she was right.
If he was crazy, that craziness finally found its shape.
That's when he made Raging Bull, regarded by the nation's top film critics as a masterpiece and the best movie of the 1980s.
Yeah, what was the best movie of the 80s? Raging Bull.
Even to the point where at one point I was almost dead in a hospital. And somehow I made it through. I remember telling the story to a Native American, kind of a poet, philosopher, medicine man in 1980 in LA. He was blind. His name was Storm. And he looked at me and he said, in that hospital, you died. You are now resurrected. He was right.
Look, the designs are locked. The supplier is handled. The store's live. I just need a link that hits. You mean a domain name, like .store? I mean, we have a link. It works, technically. Yes, like arriving to a wedding in a forklift. People buy what they remember. And this is not trustworthy. It's 50 digits and a panic attack. You have many clients? The best. It's not just a random store link. It's your name, your brand, your store. So what do you say? Okay, yeah. Where do I get a .store domain?
Would you please welcome Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese.
From the king of comedy to Goodfellas, Scorsese continued to set the standard for American filmmaking.
And now my selection of the best film of 1988. Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ.
I think he's one of the most magnificent filmmakers in America.
The absolutely brilliant Martin Scorsese. Thank you.
One of the greatest filmmakers of our time. Raging Bull, Goodfellas, and most recently, Casino.
I think Marty's the best American director we have.
Martin Scorsese is the best director now alive.
If you've never seen a movie by director Martin Scorsese, you just haven't been to the movies in the past 25 years.
One of the greatest filmmakers of our time. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Martin Scorsese.
And the winner is...
What do I do? What's the difference?
Martin Scorsese.
Oh, thank you so much.
Martin Scorsese.
Oh, Martin Scorsese.
And the Oscar goes to Martin Scorsese.
Thank you.
Raging Bull brought him back, but not all at once. He was still tired, still a little unsure.
See, the fun we're talking about is when you're younger. And when you just love movies so much. That anything you do, anything with a camera is so much fun, you know?
But slowly, Scorsese's joy for filmmaking returned. And with it, the need to give everything he has to it.
Scorsese says he is so absorbed with his career, there's little time for much else. He lives and breathes movies every minute of every day.
I have no other room in my head for anything else, unfortunately.
You told me you don't go out.
I need to sleep.
You don't go out to dinner with friends anymore. You don't even go out for a walk every now and then, Fred.
No, I never go for a walk. I don't do it very often anymore because I'm getting older and going out. I'm too busy working. Getting old. We are old.
You gotta work.
No, but
It's
you
kind of
don't
a special
socialize
occasion.
anymore.
No.
Why?
Energy and time.
Scorsese stepped away from the world around him and focused on the one he couldn't lose.
The other passionate side of the issue is, for me, I'm getting more and more and more involved, more than producing, I'm getting more involved with the preservation and restoration of old films and that sort of thing.
But it's also terrible what is happening to the films which were good and which are now deteriorating.
I complained about back in 1979, 1980 about the color fading. I said, you know, who cares? And you.
Why is it so important to your mind that we do make an effort to preserve old films and restore them wherever possible?
Scorsese, you know, is heading a group of people which is to attempt to save color film. Which color film has a life of 40 years at the most. And then it begins to change, it becomes horrible.
The picture it gives us, or the understanding, I should say, or representation of who we are, or who we were, and things have changed and how we've shifted. The good things, the shameful things, these can't be swept under the rug. So then these things are being made by all these people, all this suffering, all this joy, and nobody cares. Because it made some money, now throw it away.
Preserving film for Scorsese isn't nostalgic. It's sacred.
In this room, none of us who make film and watch them would be here without the people who came before us.
Well, if you really want to know, he's a very religious man, Martin Scorsese.
I know that there's more to the soul and more to existence than the material. I was sent to St. Patrick's School. I was, by that point, I think in the 2nd or 3rd grade, and I was suddenly thrown into a very strict, well, mid-20th century New York Catholic environment.
You don't make up for your sins in the church.
My family wasn't very religious that way, but I just found comfort there because the streets were pretty rough.
You do it in the streets. You do it at home. The rest is bullshit, and you know it.
Even if the church didn't give Marty all the answers, it did give him his first question. What happens after?
You're not afraid of dying? Why should I be? Death isn't a door that closes, it opens.
The Last Temptation of Christ was masterfully directed by Martin Scorsese with the idea of accenting the human, doubting quality of Jesus. The effect, at least on me, was not to trash Jesus, but rather to make his message more accessible.
I've done too many bad things.
I actually did the film thinking I would get closer to the concepts of what Jesus talked about.
I'm a liar, a hypocrite. I'm afraid of everything.
Was it blasphemous or wasn't it? Of course, I contend it wasn't. Others contend it was.
I don't ever tell the truth. I don't have the courage.
Where do you stand on the Last Temptation of Christ?
We cannot permit this movie to be shown in the United States or anywhere in the world.
When I see a woman, I blush and look away. I want her, but I don't take her for God, and that makes me proud.
You're the same as all the others, only you can't admit it.
We were just wondering what wrong you feel that Hollywood's committed by making this film.
That if that movie is allowed to go in movie houses, that the state of California is going to fall in the ocean.
They've offended millions of Christians all over the world. Millions.
These protesters, most of whom have not seen the movie, leave no doubt where they stand. They think this portrait of Christ as more mortal man than divinity should be burned unseen.
I want to rebel against you, against everything, against God, but I'm afraid.
Christian organization called Master Media has sent these out by the millions nationwide. Among other things, it calls for a boycott of theaters this weekend showing the picture. And so far, it's working.
You want to know who my God is? Fear. You look inside me and that's all you'll find.
This is betraying the biblical Jesus, the historical Christ of the scriptures.
And God is going to damn this country and damn this building and damn all rebels who reject his word and his son's death on the cross.
You know, Jesus is a person that we can believe in because he's historically valid, not the imagination of some modern-day fanatic.
Father, are you still there? Will you listen to a selfish, unfaithful son? I fought you when you called. I resisted.
Anybody who mocks the crucifixion will burn in hell.
I didn't want to be your son. Can you forgive me?
He had all of the weaknesses of man, as well as all of the strength of God. And this movie is a devout movie that does Jesus the compliment of taking him more seriously than any other movie ever made.
I didn't fight hard enough. Father, give me your hand. I want to bring salvation. Father, take me back.
I thought it was very spiritual, but not offensive, definitely not offensive. Can't see what all the controversy was about.
The controversy is quite silly. I mean, people can have their objections based on what they've seen, of course, but if they haven't seen it, I mean, it's just so silly.
I want to be your son. I want to pay the price. I want to be crucified and rise again.
Those who do will give themselves to it might find it rewarding. I don't know, and best I can do is to make it.
I want to be the Messiah.
I wish I had more energy for these things. I could actually make a very nice little diary of making the film, but it's almost impossible.
Some questions you don't solve with one film, but it would take Marty decades before he'd ask again.
It took me to a certain place, and then I found we had to go further.
I pray, but I'm lost. Or am I just praying to nothing?
Martin Scorsese's new film, Silence, is the tale of two Christian missionaries searching for their lost mentor, a film the director has been trying to make for 28 years.
By the time I had done Silence, I felt I had at least begun to grapple with the mystery in the right way.
No, he's here. Christ is here. I just can't hear him.
I had read the book back in 1988, and for all those years, try to come to grips, I should say, with translating it to a visual form. It got tied up in legal issues, and other people were involved, money was spent, and I lost all the actors many times. I mean, for me, it's the struggle every day between faith and doubt.
I'm afraid. The weight of your silence is terrible.
Faith and doubt are inseparable.
Go on. Pray. But pray with your eyes open.
But I kept going back because I knew that if I could at least try to make this story, I don't know if I did it right, but I know I just had to go there. It was like a pilgrimage. The journey that the picture put us on meant something or means something. And it also means it's not finished. You get older, everything is open, there's all this stuff going on, you start to question everything.
God, have mercy on you.
It means that you don't find it, it means that you keep looking.
Which God?
We're still on the road. That's never gonna end.
Which one?
Lord, I fought against your silence.
I suffered beside you. I was never silent.
If you're lucky enough to be able to create something, or if you call it art, that's a gift. Really is an attempt for us to make sense of our existence.
Maybe we never make sense of existence. But with time running out, we can ask what it's all added up to.
How many more you got in you?
I don't know. I was thinking, who knows? I'd like to do one more with De Niro. We're talking about this film called The Irishman.
Would you like to be a part of this history?
Yes, I would. Whatever you need me to do, I'm available.
We come full circle to The Irishman. Really, the film's about time and mortality. Really, that's what it's about. Looking back, the last time Bob De Niro and I worked together was Casino. Years have gone by, of course, in our lives.
Frank, there's one thing about Jimmy. Don't ever make him wait.
This isn't right. You don't do this. You don't keep a man waiting.
That time is of essence, and that's the important thing.
And we're looking even more closely from this vantage point in our lives at the age of 75, 76.
Sooner or later, everybody put he has a date when he's gonna go.
The film is really a collection of flashbacks over some 50 years, aided by new technology that de-aged the cast.
You're back in business, kid.
And I think that there's gotta be something when you go. Because, I mean, how the hell did this whole thing start? The whole story reflects how we are getting older and everything, and it feels right.
He should cash in that big pension of his. You spend more time with his grandchildren.
We're looking at friendship, betrayal, power, trust, self-preservation, and then maybe the possibility of a redemption.
Now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
It gave us the opportunity in this point in our lives, all of us, to, I don't know, try to think about what the hell we've done, who we are, and how it sums up, if it does at all.
You don't know how fast time goes by until you get there. Okay, do me a favor. Mm-hmm. Don't shut the door all the way. I don't like that. Just leave it open a little bit.
It's amazing to have been able to have the experience.
But nobody here is retiring anytime soon. If anything, they seem more energized than ever.
You got to take back control of your home.
Acclaimed filmmaker Martin Scorsese and actor Leonardo DiCaprio have teamed up once again.
His new movie, his 26th, is the epic Western crime saga, Killers of the Flower Moon.
This is Martin Scorsese's 3.5-hour-long epic. It will eventually go to Apple TV+.
Apple won the bidding war, and they decided this movie was going to be theatrical and then move it exclusively onto Apple TV+. That, of course, is now being proved out to be the formula for success. He didn't want The Irishman on Netflix. That was the only way to get the damn film made.
There was no room for us to make this picture. There was a financial issue, too, in terms of the CGI that we did.
Major studios wouldn't touch it. Netflix, however, was all over it.
This is obviously a Netflix production. Will we need to, at some point, redefine, perhaps, what is cinema?
The fact is that this film is made by Netflix. They stepped up, no interference. The trade-off is it streams with theatrical distribution prior to that. I figured that's the chance we take on this particular project.
I love them, but in the turning of the earth, they're going to go.
They don't want to make the pictures I want to make out there. It's over. It's finished.
Their time is over. That's it. Gone.
I think it's not just an evolving of cinema, but it's a revolution. With streaming, with CGI, with all these things. My fear, more than fear, my observation is that the filmmakers of substance need support. And the problem is the amusement park films. A theme park film, for example, the Marvel-type pictures, where the theaters become amusement parks, that's a different experience. It's not cinema, it's something else. Something that should always be protected as much as possible, and I think will always be there is a communal experience. And I think that's best in a theater.
Expecting a miracle to make all this go away.
I do feel it's about losing the respect for cinema as a real art form.
You know they don't happen anymore.
Martin Scorsese mourns the cinema of his past. And while he isn't afraid to criticize where it's going, the harsher pain is that regardless, he won't be going with it.
But now it's even more intense. Now the possibilities are infinite. And I think he was quoted as saying maybe cinema hasn't even started. He's right. He's right.
I am very deeply honored to receive such a wonderful prize. But I have to ask whether I really deserve it. I'm a little worried because I don't feel that I understand cinema yet. I really don't feel that I have yet grasped the essence of cinema.
Well, I was curious when I saw him say that at the Academy Awards, and he was 82. I said, what does he mean?
Cinema is a marvelous thing. But to grasp its true essence is very, very difficult.
Well, I've lived long enough now to be his age, and worked long enough. And I think I understand now, because there is no limit. The limit is in yourself.
But it's about learning the beauty of aging.
And it's like a gift, in a way. Can I live up to it? I don't know.
You stop thinking about what comes next.
But how does getting older affect the kinds of storytelling that you want to do as a filmmaker? Are there films that you feel you've got to do before it's too late?
And start thinking about what stays behind.
But you're so young in spirit. I mean that. I'm not just saying that to blow smoke.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, that's nice. But I do think I'm curious about everything still. I like keeping that youth, and I like keeping an open mind. If you can keep going, and if you live and everything, you keep going to the late age. If I'm curious about something, I think I'll find a way, if I hold out and hold up, I'll find a way to try to make something of it on film. There are a few I really want to do. I hope I can make it. What's in the frame, where to place that camera, and where to spend whatever time is left of your life telling a story. Is it worth it to you?
Where did that sense of purpose come from?
I don't think there was any choice. I was driven by it. As I'm leaving, I'm trying to say, look, remember, this can really be something beautiful in your life. Look at beauty in your life. If I've gotten to a certain point, it's mainly because my life may be ending. It's as you're older. As you know it's coming, but it ain't happening yet. It's a pilgrimage. We're still on the road. And it's never gonna end. I thought it would.
There's one I want to get to. How much film do we have left in that?
No, why don't you tell us, Stuart?
Well, how much film? First of all, tell me the story about the films.
2 minutes left.
2 minutes left. So it'll never work for 2 minutes. No. George, you think it'll work for 2 minutes?
Huh?
You think we'll get the story in 2 minutes?
No.
I doubt it.
No.
I doubt it very much.
No.
But once I was there, I realized, no. It's unfinished.